Okay, Ivana, if you want to start.
Sure. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for having me here today. I'm very happy to be presenting to OPAC tonight, as I myself am an OPAC parent. So it's really great to be able to share my experience with you guys and just get to know your community even better. So thank you for the introduction. My name is Ivana Ristevsky. I am a parent in research, which is a special role within Dr. Helen Damaris's lab within Sick Kids. And within that lab is the Canadian Retinoblastoma Research Advisory Board. So I'll be sharing with you today how we engage patients in retinoblastoma research. I will share with you, first of all, what retinoblastoma is. It's part of the title here, and some people might not be quite aware and understand retinoblastoma, so I'll explain what that is. I'll share with you my story and why I got interested in research. I'll talk about patient engagement and then how the Canadian Retinoblastoma Research Advisory Board, or CRRAB for short, works and information about it. And then also sharing examples of patient engagement in research, and then how to get involved in CRRAB. So what is retinoblastoma? Retinoblastoma is a childhood eye cancer, which affects approximately 1 in 15,000 live births. And this equals to about 25 new diagnoses each year in Canada. It is usually diagnosed in children under the age of 2, and the survival rate is greater than 95% in high-income countries. And the most common signs of retinoblastoma are leukocoria, which is the glow in the eye when it's exposed to light, such as a camera flash. And that is shown in this image on my slide. You can see one of the pupils has a white glow inside of it. The other common sign of retinoblastoma is strabismus, which is when eyes appear to be crossed. So my background, I started off my professional career in business management. I got my BCom and went into work, started a family. And then when my son, who's my first child, was born, at about 3 months old, that's his picture here on the slide. When he was born, at about 3 months old, we noticed the white glow. So in this picture specifically, he has a little bit of the cross in the eyes, but it was a little bit after the picture was taken that we started noticing the glow in pictures taken with our camera phones. And when we went to our pediatrician and mentioned this concern, we were sent right to Sick Kids to take a look, to get somebody to take a look at what's happening and to get going on a diagnosis and treatment plan right away. So this is him now. So fast forward through treatment and all everything he's gone through with retinoblastoma. He's now 9 years old. He's a happy, healthy, active kid. He loves soccer and hockey and video games, just like everyone else. But it was our experience with retinoblastoma and with going through treatment. Treatment varies with each family, and there's different paths families can take that are best suited for their treatment plan. So while navigating that new world, meeting different, going through see different professional specialists, getting the treatment done, having appointments very often, that lasted for a while and then became our new normal. While going through that, we got to meet a lot of new families that we connected with, we shared our journey with, got to know each other. And then once we got more comfortable with the process and the time between appointments became longer and longer, we felt more comfortable in getting back to everyday life. So I had taken some time off work to be able to focus on treatment and on the many appointments that were happening. But when as I mentioned, the time had grown further apart and I was able to get back into work, I was thinking, what do I want to do now? that now that I've seen how what an impact retinoblastoma has had on us, and how well we've come out of this at the not quite end of it, but how well we've been going through it, I just felt that the care that we received and the research that went into the work that treated my son, I wanted to help give back in some way and offer I don't know what I had at the time. I wanted to offer something back and to help research in some sort of way that they've helped us. So with the last almost 4 years, I've been part of the team in Dr. Helen Damaris's lab. I'm a self-proclaimed parent in research in her lab. And what I do on a part of my sort of tasks that I work on is things like help guide patient engagement in retinoblastoma research. And that means when we have patients who partner in research, guide them along the process and help sometimes explain things in a way that would be more easier to understand or break down certain steps. I also help lead research projects. I share my story with lab members to give them insight into the retinoblastoma journey from the family side. I often do this with our summer students and master's students who are working on a project, just to give them the perspective of how their research that they're working on is impacting families like myself. I also offer feedback about the retinoblastoma experience to the lab members' projects. So once they're diving into the projects and doing work, and then they share findings and how the process is going along, I'm able to share again my story or aspects of my story or knowledge about patient engagement that I've had throughout the role to help with their projects and to give them my expert feedback. With the participation in the projects that I've been working on, I've been able to present them at conferences and share the information on an international stage. And I also help plan for and present at our annual retinoblastoma research symposium. So it's another way that we bring our community together and share information on what we've been working on. So patient engagement, I've been starting to use this term with you guys here, but I wanted to let you know that the term patient is often used in a broad sense to refer to patients or survivors and informal caregivers that includes parents, family, and friends. And I will continue to use this term throughout the presentation. So when I do use it, just think back that it's not just the patient who's being taken care of, it's the broad term use of the word. So traditionally, patients have only been the subjects of research, is the way that we're most familiar with the interaction with patients and research. But in the more recent years, researchers, funders, and policymakers have started to recognize the importance and value of partnering with patients in all steps of the research process. I've included the steps of the research process on my slide here, and I won't go through all the steps here, but I just wanted to identify that from the very beginning of identifying a problem, all the way through the process to change practice, patients have been involved in our projects, and you'll be able to, as I go through and talk to you about different projects we've worked on, you'll be able to think like, oh yeah, that's, they partnered in identifying the problem part of the research process, or they've helped seek funding, or analyzing the data. So you'll be able to think back on the various parts of the research process that we have touched. Now, the benefits of patient partnership in research are that aligned limited research funds with patient priorities, improve quality of research results. It can accelerate the uptake of research findings and in turn improve patient outcomes, and match research outcomes with patient needs. Also, the benefits of partnering in research for the patient specifically, we have identified these comments from talking with our patient partners, they mentioned that making a difference for future families is a really big motivator for them. We're all here as part of OPAC, so we all have some connection to childhood cancer. And we know that if there's anything we could do to make this journey easier for the next generation, that would be a great thing to achieve. So that's one of the main drivers that I think about when I'm partnering in research, and a lot of our patient partners do as well. Another benefit is building relationships with other survivors, parents, health professionals, and researchers. And this is a really great benefit, because when you get to know the clinicians and researchers on a more human level, you're gaining a level of trust and comfort for the next appointment. And I know that when I get to know, when I've gotten to know our clinicians a bit better outside of the clinic, next time we're going into the clinic, I feel a little bit more relaxed, but I also know that there's a person there on the other side as well. And I think it's the same the other way around. Another benefit is influencing the direction of research. So I'll be covering one of the projects that we did is the top 10 research priorities, but how it relates to this benefit is we had a survivor as part of one of the groups that when we worked on a project, and it was their voicing of a concern for more research of vision that got that priority within our top 10 priorities. And I'll highlight that once we get to that slide section, but the patient voices do influence the direction of research. Another benefit is improving your knowledge and gain access to latest findings. I definitely found this to be very important, because when we first started learning about retinoblastoma, I had a very hard time understanding the articles that I was reading. The terminology used was difficult to grasp, and especially at a time when there was high stress. So getting to work with a team that's able to explain some of the terminology, able to explain the research, you get to know the people who are doing the research. So my knowledge of retinoblastoma has increased tremendously. And another benefit is applying your lived experience and skills to enhance research. So sharing your story and using your skills to create tools and materials used for project, it brings me a great deal of pride and accomplishment. And I think it does to a lot of our other patient partners. We have patient partners who prefer to help with other tasks that are such as social media or web design as a way of partnering, so they can use their skills, lean more on the skill side instead of maybe the lived experience side to help enhance research. Now, before we go to the next section, if we can, I would like to do a little poll just to see who's in the audience here today. If we could run the first poll question, if you could just take a look at the question, it's asking you who's here today. So if you could choose one of the following options. I'm a parent of a child, or you're a survivor with retinoblastoma. So any sort of family connection. Are you a parent or a child? Are you a parent of a child or survivor of another childhood cancer? Are you a health professional who works with retinoblastoma, or a health professional who works with other patient groups? Or are you connected with retinoblastoma families in other ways, or connected to other patient groups in other ways? So just pick one that you would think would best describe you. Does anybody need more time?
Should I end it now, Ivana?
Yeah, usually, yeah, if most people have answered, please.
Yeah. Share results.
Okay, so I'm seeing we have 43% of the people are family members or connected to retinoblastoma in that way. We have 29% of parents or family members of somebody with another childhood cancer, and we have some who are connected to retinoblastoma in other ways. It's 14%, and 14% who are connected to other patient groups in other ways. So that's really interesting to see. If we could also launch the second question, please. I would like to know a bit more about your involvement with patient engagement. So I wanted to know, have you been a part of a project involving patient partnerships? Yes or no, but I would like to. No, but I would like to learn more about it. No, and I'm not quite interested right now. And that's okay. There's no, I don't know. So maybe if you're not sure if what you participated in counts as patient engagement. We could, by the time we get to the presentation, you'll definitely know for sure. And does anybody need any more time? Okay, so I see here we have 86% said yes, they have participated in projects involving patient partnership, and 14 said no, but I'd like to learn more. So perfect. Okay, you're in the right place. Okay, I will continue here. I will now share how retinoblastoma patient engagement strategy, what it is. Okay. So the Canadian Retinoblastoma patient engagement strategy was developed to share research results with people personally affected by retinoblastoma, include a large diverse group of people affected by retinoblastoma in research, and promote research that is created and led by people affected by retinoblastoma. This strategy is led by the Canadian Retinoblastoma Research Advisory Board. And CRRAB, which I'll call CRRAB from now on. And CRRAB was created in December 2016 with the support of existing retinoblastoma advocacy groups. So I'll be going back to these, to the Canadian Retinoblastoma patient engagement strategy and sharing with you how each step is executed. But before we do, I just wanted to tell you a bit more about how CRRAB fits in. So if we look at this diagram, and the orange circle is the greater community of everybody affected by retinoblastoma, personally or professionally. And from that group of people, a subset of people, which is the green circle, are people connected to retinoblastoma and interested in retinoblastoma research. And we ask people to formally join the retinoblastoma research community through our website, www.rbcanadaresearch.com. This is the best way to keep in touch. And by joining the community, you can choose to receive quarterly newsletters, which gives you updates about plain language summaries and information about training, meetings, and research opportunities. Also information about opportunities to partner in research. And then the further subset of the blue circle is CRRAB. So this is people who are connected to retinoblastoma, are interested in research, and who participate in patient-partnered research and related activities and events. And so CRRAB is composed of patients, health professionals, and researchers from across Canada who participate in patient-partnered research and related activities and events. And CRRAB aims to have patients work alongside researchers and health professionals to create meaningful research that is relevant to patients and improves outcomes. So currently the focus is on Canadian research, but we welcome international people to sign up and join the research community. So CRRAB, going back to those patient engagement strategy, including a large and diverse group of people. And what CRRAB does is it promotes and increases participation in the Canadian retinoblastoma research community through conferences and symposia which includes our annual Retinoblastoma Research Symposium that happens once a year, usually in person, but we've had virtual the last few years. We used to host an awareness table during retinoblastoma follow-up clinics at Sick Kids a few years ago, and maybe this will be something that will be coming back. And we also created a Retinoblastoma Research and You booklet, which has been distributed across Canadian retinoblastoma clinics and is available to pick up at the clinics. We also share opportunities to participate in research through the Canadian retinoblastoma research community. And this is through the newsletter distribution to those who join the community, as I mentioned. For sharing research results, CRRAB guides the creation of plain language summaries that are written by patients who partner with a clinician or a researcher. These plain language summaries are then shared through our quarterly newsletter, a blog post on our website, a cup of tea presentation through Zoom. And this cup of tea presentation is also shared on our YouTube channel, and we're working on a podcast version. And what that cup of tea is something similar to this, where we're discussing the plain language summary in a more casual environment, which also includes other patients, clinicians, and researchers, and we're able to discuss some of the questions that might be raised by the patient partner who's done the summary, and just so the community can have a better understanding of research. For promoting patient-led research, CRRAB offers tools and platforms for patient partnerships and research. And this includes things like meeting facilitation, so making available a Zoom link and any sort of extra support that's required to facilitate the meeting, sharing expertise and guiding the patient engagement relationship, and inviting patients that have expressed skill or interest in research projects. So this could either be through CRRAB events and relationships built through CRRAB or through the Canadian retinoblastoma community, inviting them through the newsletter or email, and utilizing social media and newsletter to share information about meetings, recruitment, etc. CRRAB also facilitates project-specific patient partnerships to develop and advance solutions to the top 10 priorities. And what this mouthful means is that these are projects that are focused on the top 10 priorities, and they engage patient partnerships in solving them. So I've been mentioning this top 10 priorities, and I would like to share with you a bit more information, and this kind of started everything. So the aim was for retinoblastoma patients, clinicians, and researchers to jointly determine the top 10 retinoblastoma research priorities in Canada. This started off with an online survey asking, what question about retinoblastoma would you like to see answered by research? And 175 questions were submitted. Then the questions were taken to a steering committee of patients and non-patients, which reached a consensus of 30 questions. And I was part of this steering committee where we met virtually to talk about the questions. We discussed phrasing of questions, and sometimes patient partners would say specific phrasing of a question, maybe describing a problem or a topic that is important to them, and that specific phrasing should stay that way. So there was a lot of discussion back and forth to make sure that the questions, that the final 30 questions really did capture the thoughts and ideas of what we wanted to see research answer. And then these 30 questions were taken to an in-person workshop to determine the top 10 retinoblastoma research priorities. Again, this was a group of patients and non-patients who worked on this list. And out of this, the top 10 list was determined by ranking the list of the 30 questions. So it was within this, and here's the list of the top 10 priorities. I'll just share with you the categories, the full list of the questions, and more information can be found on our website. The first priority was around diagnosis. The second was second cancer, and a third was psychosocial. Fourth was follow-up. 5 was treatment, 6 was psychosocial, and we have second cancer, a miscellaneous, follow-up, and global health. So within this list of questions, we have number 6 was the one that made it onto our list. What is the effect of enucleation and vision loss on retinoblastoma survivors? A question that was very passionately brought to the group by a survivor who felt that this was not being addressed and research should focus on it. So this is that impact the patient voice had. More can also be read in the publication, The Top 10 Retinoblastoma Research Priorities in Canada, as determined by patients, clinicians, and researchers, a patient-oriented priority setting partnership. So here's some examples of how patient engagement and research. In order to raise awareness and inspire action towards solving the top 10 priorities, a dissemination plan was created with the help of our parents and research, myself. So materials for dissemination were created in a working group, which was attended by funders, researchers, patients, and health professionals. We have some pictures here of the working group working on creating an infographic, which is on the right-hand side, showing a summary of the top 10 priorities that could be easily seen, easily viewed, and grabs attention. And in the middle, we have a parent holding a sign of one of the priorities. This was used in our social media, but also the patients in this working group selected questions that they were passionate about, and they created a video plus a short video clip at this working group that was used as promotional materials to help encourage the research to address the top 10 priorities. So one working group worked on the infographic, which was then used in a pamphlet to raise awareness of the top 10 priorities at conferences and other gatherings. And then the videos that were created during the same time in a separate working group were used on our social media as a countdown to the release of our top 10 priorities list. And also to show funders and other researchers the importance of why people feel passionate about the top 10 priorities and why they should be solved. One of the priorities is priority 9, which states how to provide a detailed pathway of care or plan outlining treatment and follow-up to retinoblastoma patients and families. And to address this priority, our aim was to develop and evaluate a prototype of a patient-centered pathway of care based on the Get Well Maps concept. And the Get Well Maps is pictured here on the screen on the right. It's a form of a child-centered medical communication. Get Well Maps are visual tools used to graphically represent a patient's journey or pathway of care, mapped with treatment-specific stickers to document milestones and goals. And this is important because patients and their families report that navigating retinoblastoma treatment and follow-up is stressful and sometimes confusing. So we wanted to address this priority. And this was brought to us with one of our CRRAB members, who's a child life specialist, who connected us with the Get Well Maps Foundation and got this project and inspired us to pursue this project. So here's some pictures of this particular workshop that was held. This in-person workshop, I helped lead it along with our child life specialist. We introduced the idea of the Get Well Maps, and we developed 10 prototype stickers, as well as led a discussion on relevant outcome measures for the evaluation of the project. The sticker ideas were sketched in real time by an illustrator who's pictured here on the right side of this board. And the input from one of our younger survivors was used to make sure that the stickers were relevant to our patient community and helped select which designs were best suited. Our child life specialist also engaged with a smaller group of kids to get feedback on designs from their perspective as well. And the participants also included patients, clinicians, and researchers, as well as funders in this workshop. So these are the final pictures of the package that was sent to families who were testing out the retinoblastoma journey map. It's a little bit hard to see the pictures, but you can see the ones that are a bit more graphic were the ones that were created at the workshop. Parents provided further feedback on the instruction materials and the evaluation tools. And the parent, myself, I reviewed the package with the families who were testing the retinoblastoma journey map. And this was helpful because I could share with them here, a picture of my son's map and how the map could be used. I could share my story and show them the benefits of participating in this project and how it could help families in the future. So information from the families who tested the retinoblastoma journey map was collected and evaluated by myself, me with my team. Data was collected from pre and post project questionnaires and a post questionnaire interview, which I conducted with the families. And then themes and matching quotes were pulled from the interviews and interpretations were made about the impact and the use of the map. And we recently had the virtual workshop that was held to consult with the families who had lived and professional experience to verify that the fit of the quotes to the themes and our interpretations made sense to them. And then I'm currently helping write up, do the write-up for this project. This is just an example of one of the two projects that patient engagement has happened in. We have other projects that are also going on. Priority 1 is being addressed, priority 2 and priority 3. And within these projects, examples of patient engagement include planning the project, and tasks such as deciding on the main question, searching for evaluation tools, writing the protocol. Our patient partners are helping us search for funding opportunities. They're helping apply for grants, planning recruitment strategies, and this is important, especially in things like using the right wording when planning recruitment and making sure that it's clear and easy to understand. Creating recruitment materials. Some people like to use those skills I mentioned earlier and help create more visual items. And they're also helping in editing and creating plain language descriptions. Meetings for these projects are held ad hoc basis, and activities involve the full spectrum of the research process. So now that I've shared some of the great things CRRAB does, how do you get involved? So somebody who is personally or professionally connected to retinoblastoma, you can participate in CRRAB by attending the Retinoblastoma Research Symposium. This is a once-a-year event, as I mentioned previously, where CRRAB members meet for usually weekend-long activities. This includes things like the annual meeting, where we review the progress of CRRAB, set goals for the new year. We have a family gathering where families can connect with each other and with the clinicians and researchers that attend. Child Life holds a children's program, so they can also learn through child's play. Research workshops are held. There's a marketplace and networking opportunities and social time, of course. From that annual meeting, we have quarterly meetings to share every quarter to share with our members progress towards the goals that were set. And then people who do most of the work in achieving the goals, they meet monthly through working groups to think of ideas and plans and actualize those plans and move those goals forward. So I encourage you to get involved. If you're connected to retinoblastoma and want to participate and learn more about CRRAB and what we do and how to be involved, I encourage you to join our retinoblastoma research community. You can do so through our website, www.rbcanadaresearch.com, and it's in the top right corner. By clicking on RB Research Community, will direct you to the sign up. You can follow us on social media. On Instagram and Twitter, we are at RB_research, and on Facebook, we are at RB Research. And if you have any questions about patient engagement or about patient engagement with CRRAB, you can send us an email, retinoblastoma.research@sickkids.ca. Or if you have any questions afterwards about any other projects we've been talking about. And anyone else who's interested in learning more, most of the stuff I've been talking about is covered in our booklet, Retinoblastoma Researching You, that we made with our patient partners. It can be found on our website. There's also a PDF version. It's accessible to those who use screen readers. And if you're in Canada, you can pick up your copy at your next visit at a retinoblastoma clinic, or if you would like one sent to you, you can send us an email and we will mail one to you. Our email is retinoblastoma.research@sickkids.ca. And I just want to thank all of you for attending, for listening to my presentation today. I want to thank our lab, Dr. Helen Damaris, who's a scientist who leads the patient engagement and retinoblastoma research in Canada and has made my role possible here. Caitlin Flagg, who's our retinoblastoma research project manager, Roxanne, who's our clinical research project assistant, and the whole team really helps me understand research and retinoblastoma better. Our current and past masters and summer students who help with CRRAB activities and who utilize patient engagement in their research, and all the families, especially all the families who participate in CRRAB and keep sharing their stories and skills to move research forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ivana. That was a great presentation. Thank you for letting us know all that important research that the board is doing and how parents can get involved. I wanted to see if anyone has any questions for Ivana now. You can just speak up or type it in the chat. I have some questions in the meantime while people think about it, Ivana, that we had received in advance. How is information, I guess the research information, disseminated? How do people find out what the results of this research, all this great research you're doing?
So it depends on what we want to disseminate. So for example, the top 10 priorities, we wanted researchers to research them and answer them. So we shared the list of the top 10 priorities from the infographic that was created at conferences and symposia where we could reach other researchers, and using those videos that were created, we showed the importance of why they should be addressed and hopefully encourage them to address them. So it just depends on who we were targeting with specific dissemination materials.
Okay, thank you. And on a personal note, what have you learned from your role working on this board and as a parent yourself?
That's a great question. So being a partner in research, I mentioned some of the ways that has impacted me, and one of the main ones was understanding retinoblastoma better. Definitely the challenges of understanding the journey, understanding the impact of the genetics are so important, and especially important to pass on to the next generation so that I'm able to teach my son the right ways that he can take care of himself, the right things he has to do for his future. I think one of the most important things, and I was able to achieve that by being a parent in research and being and learning more about research and retinoblastoma through my role. But also getting to know other clinicians and researchers, understanding their research better, and getting to know why they're interested in retinoblastoma was always fascinating. That I find that they very much so care about their patients and about addressing these topics that we're working to partner patients with.
That's great, thank you. Any questions for Ivana?
Sure. Hi, Ivana. I
Eva?
just wanted to thank you for a great talk. And I wanted to you did this earlier in your presentation, but I thought you might restate it for us. OPAC, as we all know, seeks out to be the parent voice for children or parents of children diagnosed with cancer. And I was wondering even if you might reiterate a bit more about why it's also so important to have the parent voice involved in research, and what a important role that is, that you serve and that other parents serve.
Yeah, I think it's a very important role. Even before I participated in research, I thought, what can I offer? Researchers have spent so many years in school and they know so much more than I do. What do I have to offer? And I didn't know that the value of the patient voice is so strong. And just offering that perspective of the personal journey to research so that it could be better aligned to serve the patients that it's trying to address the problems of. Also, limited research funding when we're looking at what projects should maybe take priority, having the patient voice, and things such as like the top 10 priorities that we've done, we can better direct that funding towards. And of course, providing sort of that voice into research, you're improving the quality of the research by making sure that's addressing all the concerns of the patient community. And that's the other point I didn't address here as much, but the diversity of the voices. In retinoblastoma, for example, I've mentioned how there's so many different journeys. We have different ways genetics is impacted, whether it's going to be passed down to the next generation or not. So it's more than just one patient voice. It's making sure there's enough voices from the community to really understand, that community's stories.
Thank you. And we know the value of the parent perspective for sure from OPAC side. As Susan here pointed out in the chat, OPAC actually participates in a number of research projects as a representative of that parent voice, so important. So that's great to have more parents involved, and you did a great job saying how parents can get involved, to visit the website. OPAC also, at any time, you have CRRAB events or research or surveys or whatever, let us know, and we're happy to let our families know about that, share it on our social media accounts as well. We have, I counted today, 18 retinoblastoma families in our membership currently, and we always send any new family that joins the research booklet as well, which is a great resource. So thank you. And any questions, a final call for questions for Ivana? Well, before we go, I just wanted to plug OPAC and mention we do offer many different support resources for parents, and we have a drop-in virtually like this through Zoom every Tuesday evening at 7:30 with our parent liaisons to chat about any programs in or out of the hospital, any parenting questions or anything you want to talk about with our parent liaisons. They are all parents who've had a child with cancer, understand that journey firsthand, and offer that parent perspective to other parents as peer support. And Susan, you have a question.
Well, it's actually more of a comment. You've already mentioned, because I did type it in the chat, that OPAC is often asked by hospital staff or various researchers, not just at Sick Kids, but a variety of different places, to participate in research, and we've been happy to do that. And from time to time, you will see CRRAB is asking for parents for, sometimes it's a survey, those kinds of things. So that's one way that we participate already, and it's wonderful to see, Ivana's, I think they're a very proactive group, the retinoblastoma group, around making sure that they have got parent engagement, but it is a very important aspect. And make no mistake, every one of you parents who are on, because from time to time, when it comes to your own child's treatment, you've been asked to participate in various questionnaires, a variety of different things. You are already participating as researchers yourselves, as parent researchers yourselves. And make no mistake, it is a very, very important aspect, and particularly speaking up and voicing your observations, your concerns, and all the rest. They are really important and valid. They are being listened to. And Ivana, you are absolutely the best example of just how that partnership and how important that partnership is. So never be afraid to speak up, anybody.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Pleasure.
Thank you very much. So if there's no questions, I'm going to end the meeting, but of course, check out, we'll share this on our social media tomorrow, post it with the links to CRRAB website again, and OPAC, it's opacc.org, our website. So thank you everybody for joining us tonight. Thank you, Ivana, wonderful presentation, and yeah, thanks all around. Take care, good night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.